Hello grade 5s, this is Mr. Ati speaking, your natural science teacher. Before we carry on with the second term's work, we are going to do some revision about some work we did in term 1. Life and living. We will be looking at the following topics in this slide. Plants and animals on Earth, and many different plants and animals. The first one, plants and animals on Earth. You might have heard that people say our planet Earth is the blue planet. If astronauts in space look down on Earth, the water that covers more than 2/3 of the planet makes it look as if the planet is blue. Thousands of plants and animals can live on Earth because there is water. The many plants and animals that live on Earth choose special places to live. The place where a plant or animal lives is called its habitat. There is a special word we use to talk about all the animals and plants in their different habitats. This word is biodiversity. When you look at the biodiversity of a certain area, you look at all the different kinds of habitats in that area, including all the animals and plants in that area. Many different plants and animals. The Earth is home to the most amazing diversity of animals and plants. Each animal and plant naturally chooses where it wants to live, its habitat. We can identify different types of habitats on Earth, such as aquatic, that is the water, the desert, grasslands, and forests. Within each habitat, there are animals and plants that have adapted to live specifically in that environment. Let's take a look at some of the most common plants and animals that live in each of these different kinds of habitats. If we look at the water habitats first, many thousands of different animals and plants live in our near water and aquatic habitats. There are two main kinds of aquatic habitats: salty, marine habitats, and freshwater habitats. The plants and animals that live in these habitats are adapted to either live in salt water or in fresh water. In South Africa, there are examples of all these kinds of aquatic habitats. Our country has a very long coastline with different types of habitats, and animals live there. Many animals live in and around the rock pools. They have to withstand the harsh sun and the constant pounding of the waves. Our seas are also filled with animals of all shapes and sizes. Large mammals like whales and dolphins swim in our seas. There you can see there's a few pictures there of animals that's living in our seas. Water habitats. The sea is also home to many schools of fish. The coral reefs on the South African coast, especially on the east coast, such as the Sodwana Bay, are very rich in fish and animal species. Where the river runs into the sea, a special area called an estuary develops. The fresh water from the river mixes with the salty water. You can often find mudskipper, trees, and ants and other things in that area. Have a look at this activity. Identify marine animals and plants. The instructions are carefully study the pictures of different marine animals and plants on South Africa's coast. And number 2, then answer the questions about these pictures. There's a crab, there's a school of fish, there's a crayfish, penguin, and green seaweed on the pictures. The next group of pictures have mussels on it, sharks, jellyfish, and a kelp seaweed. Questions. Number 1. Can you imagine how difficult it must be to live on rocks being pounded by waves all day and all night long? Which animals in these pictures live on or near the rocks? Can you imagine how difficult it must be to live on rocks being pounded by waves all day and all night long? Which animals in this picture live on or near the rocks? The answer: crabs, crayfish, seaweed, mussels. Number 2, describe at least 3 different ways that these animals protect themselves against the pounding waves. Answer: some have a hard shell like a mussel and clams. Other animals hide under rocks during high tide and only come out in low tide when the sea is calmer. Some organisms, such as snails and seaweed, have very strong suckers and stick to rocks and withstand the pounding of the sea. Number 3, carefully study all these animals in the picture and find things that some animals have in common. Classify the animals into groups based on their similarities. Many eco-tourists like to visit our country and see the sights. Some tourists like to go on tours where they enter into a cage which is lowered into the water. The tour operators often chuck small pieces of meat into the water to attract sharks which then swim around the cage. This is called shark cage diving. Do you think shark cage diving is appropriate? Explain why you think so. Well, everybody is entitled to his own ideas and answer. Some might be in favor of shark cage diving as it gives opportunities for 10 live and living research and study and makes people appreciate the sharks more. Others might agree with the minister and say that tourists might scare sharks out of their natural habitat and teach them not to fear humans, and then they are easier to catch by other humans. Freshwater animals. Let us now look at the plants and animals that live in freshwater, such as dams, ponds, streams, and rivers. Many animals live in or near freshwater ponds, dams, and lakes, or rivers and streams. Small insects, snails, clams, crabs, frogs, and fish live in or near water. Larger animals like turtles, snakes, ducks, and large fish, as well as hippos and crocodiles, also live in or near water. On these pictures you can see ducks, a hippopotamus, a frog, and a crocodile. Freshwater animals. Some water plants have roots, for example water lilies and reeds. Water plants make oxygen for the animals to breathe and provide food for many of the animals to eat. In South Africa, we also have large wetlands where rivers slow down and the water stands still or flows very slowly. Wetlands provide food and shelter and a natural habitat for an incredible amount of animals. Frogs, reptiles, birds, like ducks and waders, and fish are only a few of these. Now we're going to look at the deserts and the semi-desert habitats. Deserts are areas that have a very low rainfall each year. In some deserts, it only rains once every 10 years. The desert may look dry, but there are many different plants and animals which are situated and suited to live in these areas. Plants that can survive without much water in the desert are grasses, acacias, aloes, cactus, and other succulents. Succulents are plants that can store the water in their leaves and stems and survive well in dry climates. Desert and semi-desert habitat. Many animals live in the desert, such as the Kalahari. Some of these animals are predators such as lions, cheetahs, leopards, as well as hyenas and jackals. Large and small mammals such as meerkats, giraffes, warthogs, and porcupines. Antelope like eland, gemsbok, springbok, and hartebeest, steenbok, kudu, and duiker. Many species of birds, including falcons, rovens, eagles, buzzards, hawks, and turtle doves. The social weavers are small weaver birds that build family nests where hundreds of weaver families can live. Many different reptiles, puff adders, cobras, lizards, geckos, and iguanas. A great many insects live in the desert, such as bees and butterflies, grasshoppers, and many more. These are pictures of some of the animals that you will find in the desert, like eland, jackal, puff adder, and warthogs. What about the grassland habitats? Grasslands are covered in grasses and very few trees. As soon as the first rains fall, the grasses grow incredibly fast and new plants sprout all over the black earth. This is also the time when many new animal babies are born, as the new grass can feed the mothers to provide plenty of milk for the young. Questions. List some of the animals which you think live in the grasslands. Could you name a few? The kudu, nyala, impala, zebra, the buffalo, lions, leopards, and other small mammals, many birds, etc. The forest habitat is a large area that is mostly covered in trees. Forests are extremely important to life on Earth. The many trees clean the air and provide oxygen for the animals on Earth to breathe. They also plants and animals on Earth provide people with fuel, food and shelter, medicine and employment. Many animals live in forests, from large elephants and bears to smaller monkeys, squirrels, owls, and woodpeckers. We need to conserve, that means look after, our forests and stop people who want to chop down naturally growing trees. It is very important to also conserve the many animals that pollinate trees and spread their seeds over large areas. Without these animals, the trees would not be able to reproduce and will become extinct. The forest habitat. In pictures you can see there inside the Knysna forest, one of South Africa's few indigenous forests, and an elephant in the Knysna forest, Elephant Park. Well done. we're now through part 1, and I hope you enjoyed it. And look after yourselves and be safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.